Hello, Zimbabwe, and welcome to LiveTalk Women's Roundtable. We're coming to you live from Studio 7 at the Voice of America in Washington, and I'm your host, Marvellous Mhlanga-Nyahuye. Today on Women's Roundtable. And today on Women's Roundtable, we're remembering the life and legacy of Studio 7 stringer Lucy Yasini, who passed away early this week in Harare following a short illness. But first, let's take a look what is happening here in the United States. 2 years ago this month, the U.S. Supreme Court made a decision that impacted the nation's political landscape, reversing its 1973 ruling that legalized abortion. Now abortion looms as a major issue in this year's elections. VOA senior Washington correspondent Caroline Presutti takes a look at how the issue is charging the presidential campaign.
June 24th, 2022, the U.S. Supreme Court reverses the ruling that made abortion legal and leaves the issue up to the states. Since then, 21 states have passed laws to limit abortions. At a recent Donald Trump rally,
I'm pro-life, but I think people should have a right if they want it to be early and to be done safely and with exceptions for the birth, of a baby or a mother. But it should be up to the states. A new Gallup poll shows the Dobbs decision galvanized single-issue voters 2 years ago and continues to do so.
We see a record high now, 32% of the electorate saying they'll only vote for a candidate who shares their views on the issue. But again, that hasn't really changed among Republicans and independents. That stayed absolutely steady at about 22%. It's Democrats who have really surged.
Free condom, free cone?
One of those voters is Jaden D'Onofrio.
We've seen that the right to choice and recreational marijuana are critical to the beliefs and importance of youth voters and what's top of mind for them, especially with the right to choice.
In May, D'Onofrio's state of Florida enacted one of the most restrictive state laws, making abortion illegal after 6 weeks of pregnancy. President Joe Biden called the current patchwork of laws chaos.
It shouldn't matter where in America you live. This isn't about states' rights, it's about women's rights. The person most responsible for taking away this freedom in America is Donald Trump.
President Biden has his own complicated views of abortion relating to his Catholic faith.
You had such an impression on my family.
Last week, he met with the Pope at the Vatican. The church teaches abortion as immoral, but Catholics are divided on the issue.
My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint.
Former President Donald Trump takes credit for the Supreme Court decision that outlawed abortion on a national level.
You must follow your heart of this issue, but remember, you must also win elections to restore our culture and, in fact, to save our country, which is currently, and very sadly, a nation in decline.
Saad from Gallup says it will be interesting to see whether the Supreme Court decision will change votes in November or simply motivate people to go out and vote. Caroline Presutti, VOA News.
Thank you, Caroline. The United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, marked World Refugee Day today in Sudan and South Sudan, where he has been traveling this week, highlighting the situation of millions of people displaced by war. VOA United Nations correspondent Margaret Bashir spoke to him from New York, and this is what he had to say.
Sudan's war has triggered one of the largest displacement crises on the planet, according to the United Nations. It broke out in April 2023 between two rival generals and has pushed internal displacement to nearly 10 million people and driven 2 million more to seek safety in neighboring countries. The UN High Commissioner for Refugees, Filippo Grandi, met some of the displaced this week in Kosti, in the southern part of Sudan.
They're fleeing horrible violence, very severe violations of human rights, but increasingly they're also fleeing deprivation, and in particular food insecurity and in some cases hunger. So you have a multiplication of factors that are all generated clearly by this insane war that doesn't seem to end.
In South Sudan, the UN Refugee Agency is working to assist them. But humanitarian aid is only a short-term solution. Peace is what is needed, he said.
My appeal is really to everybody who has any influence on the parties in this conflict. Push them not towards the battlefield, but to the negotiating table.
Elsewhere in Africa, the effects of the climate crisis are driving displacement, forcing people to move, especially when coupled with conflicts.
And there, what happens is that climate becomes a cause of conflict. It deprives very poor communities living together of basic resources, water, for example. The communities start fighting, and this generates displacement.
Globally, the numbers of displaced people, refugees, and asylum seekers have been increasing over the last 12 years to a staggering 120 million. Ukraine, Syria, and Afghanistan account for just over half of all forcibly displaced persons.
This tragic progression will just continue if at least some of these conflicts are not resolved and the conditions for people to return, which is still the best solution, are not created. This is the big challenge.
Grandi warns that it will be difficult for an increasingly divided world to meet growing global challenges. Margaret Bashir, VOA News, the United Nations.
Thank you, Margaret. Zimbabwe today joined the rest of the world in commemorating World Refugee Day. Zimbabwe hosts over 23,000 refugees, the largest number being housed at Tongogara Refugee Camp in Chipinge, Manicaland Province. Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare Deputy Minister, Advocate Mercy Dina, says Zimbabwe will continue supporting self-sustaining projects at Tongogara Refugee Camp. She said this at a ceremony to commemorate the day in Chipinge today.
When refugees are included in decision-making processes, when their voices are heard and valued, and when they are given the opportunity to contribute to their communities, they become agents of change and resilience.
Wakati mkimbizi anahusishwa na wakati mkimbizi anasikilizwa, wanakuwa wanabadilisha na kugeuka baagent ya mabadiliko.
By fostering a culture of inclusivity and empowerment, we can harness the immense potential of refugees and unlock opportunities for social cohesion and economic development.
Na kwa kuwaingiza vile wakimbizi inaweza kasaidia jambo ya development social na mengineyo.
In view of the above, the government of Zimbabwe pledged to enhance self-reliance for refugees, asylum seekers and host community, and strengthening the inclusion of refugees and asylum seekers in sports and cultural programs.
That was Public Service, Labor and Social Welfare Deputy Minister, Advocate Mercy Dina in Chipinge. Speaking at the same event, the World Food Programme Country Representative Francesca Eldamana said her organization will continue to support refugees at Tongogara Refugee Camp.
In addition to food assistance, the World Food Programme aims to expand livelihood options, including income-generating projects and diversified farming.
Na kwa kuweza kuendelesha bila kuacha tu msaada wa chakula, na WFP vile vile inahusika kwa miradi mbalimbali.
In 2022, we supported health promotion at Tongogara by training mothers and adolescents.
Na kwa mwaka ambayo inasemekana pale tulisaidia kitongoji cha Tongogara kuweza kufunza wamama.
In 2023, WFP, UNHCR, and the government took a joint multi-sectoral needs assessment to inform our future interventions.
Na tuliweza kufanya verification ambayo tulichangia ASER, WFP pamoja na wapaterner juu ya kuweza kujua nini ambayo itahitajika kesho kwa watu ambao tuko nao hapa.
When this assessment is finalized, it will guide us in partnering with the government to mobilize resources to address identified priorities.
Na wakati yote itafanyika, tuweza kuorganize ma resource juu ya kujua ni nini ambayo inaweza ikaendeka.
That was World Food Programme Country Representative Francesca Elderman in Chipinge. A single mother of 3 from DRC, Nyahuye, speaks about some of the challenges some women face as single mothers living in a refugee camp.
Here in the camp, life is not easy. As a woman, as a single mother, to my boys. Actually, I have 3 boys. Yeah, so it's not easy as a woman to go day by day. You have to provide for the children, which you're not doing anything. So it's not easy for as a woman. We have so much challenges because of there is also violence, and this, especially if you're a single mother, you are not allowed in the society like that much. Yeah. So some people are scared of their husbands. Like other places, when they are meeting, they don't even want you there because you are a single mother. So it's not easy living in the camp. Yeah.
So how are you managing to feed your 3 children?
For the moment, thank God, because I managed to get a job at TRH as a volunteer. I'm a facilitator there. Yeah, so I have a little bit of allowance, which is helping me with the small distribution that we get monthly. Yeah, that's only what we are relying on.
And that was a single mother of 3 from DRC, Nyahuye in Chipinge. Please stay tuned as we take a short break. We'll be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
For those that have just joined us, please note that we are streaming live on all our Facebook pages, VOA Shona, VOA Studio 7, and VOA Ndebele. We're also live on YouTube at VOA Zimbabwe. Today we're celebrating the life and legacy of Studio 7 stringer Lucy Yasini, who passed away on Monday in Harare. Lucy joined Studio 7 VOA in 2008 and worked with us till the time of her death. She is survived by her 2 children and will be laid to rest tomorrow at Glen Forest Cemetery in Harare. To discuss the life and legacy of Lucy, female journalists Anna Chibamu and Sophia Mapuranga join us as well as our very own reporter Anastasia Ndlovu, who is at the funeral. Welcome to the program, ladies.
Thank you. How are you? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Marvellous.
Thank you. I'll start off with you, Anna Chibamu. You were very close to the late Lucy. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got to know Lucy, especially on the professional side as a female journalist yourself?
I've known Lucy for more than a decade now. I was staying in Bindura for quite some time, and then I was transferred to Harare, working for an NGO, but later I moved to the newsroom. So the person I knew in Harare then was Robert Kakumane, but later I met Lucy at one of the media centers, the previous media center, and we just clicked, and we started seeing each other. Like I would visit her every time to the media center, and she would come to my place. But the best thing that happened to me then was that I wasn't all that good in the media industry. I was only starting because I started off at an NGO and then later joined the newsroom. So Lucy showed me to write good stories. She trained me actually everything about journalism because I'd forgotten. She was tough, but I coped very well. And today I'm one of the senior journalists in Zimbabwe. I'm writing for newszimbabwe.com, having also worked for Newsiana and the Daily Mirror, which was closed in 2006.
Thank you.
So, talking about Lucy, you just want the introduction, or you want me to go on?
You can just give us a chance so we can also hear from Sophia Mapuranga to just give us, where she worked with Lucy and what was that relationship like as female journalist. You can go ahead, Sophia.
Thank you very much, Marvellous. I got to know Lucy as soon as I also became a journalist. I started off as a freelancer, and Lucy was one of those people that also held my hand. She was like a mentor to me. Lucy was the kind of person who would show you the ropes because she had been in the industry for quite some time. And as a female journalist, we experience a lot of challenges here when you coming as at an entry point. But Lucy was the one kind of, I would call her sister now, because I would call her Lucy, because she would hold your hand, she would show you the ropes, she would show you how to navigate the industry. And one thing that I admired about Lucy was her resilience. Lucy was a focused person. She was soft in me, but she was someone who would, take you through on how to navigate the industry. So ever since I knew Lucy, there is one thing that I really admired about her. She was that kind of person who would not rush to just publish a story. She was that one kind of person who was very, very professional in her conduct. She was ethical. And she taught me that, journalism is about telling the story. And with Lucy, when you would go on diaries with her, she would, point the story to you, and she would mentor you in such a way that, up to today, I really appreciate her mentorship. Yes, Lucy was a kind of person who was very quiet in a way. She was soft, but in the industry, for me personally, she was the guru. I think that's all I can say about Lucy.
Tombodzoka kwamuri ana Chibamu takamirira tiri kuedza kubata Anastasia Ndlovu weStudio 7 asi tombodzoka kwauri kuti wanga uri kutaura iwe kuti wakadzidziswa mamwe mabasa naLucy mufi pari zvino unganyatsotitaurirawo kuti zvii zvawakadzidza uyezve kune vamwe vatingati vatapi venhau vechidzimai vechidiki vari kukura pane here zvavangawanikwewo vachizotora kubva pane zvawakadzidza iwe kubva kuna Lucy?
Okay, chinhu chandingati ndakadzidza kuna Lucy chekutanga ndakadzidza kuzvininipisa in this industry. Lucy angari a very quiet person, but when there was need to talk, she would say something actually related to basa redu. So munhu kadzi wokuti waiti ukaenda naye at an event or padiary aitokudzidzisa even kukuudza kuti kuindustry unofanira kusvika panzvimbo an hour before the event starts. That was Lucy for you. And I could even near the security kuti unoshandira independent saka haufana kungolakisa Zimbabwe haina kuchipa unofana kunge uchitwakamira vanhu vaunorelate navo. And when even you go home, don't use the same route. Tsvaga kwakasiyana-siyana kusvika nako kumba kwako. Saka Lucy angari very alert in terms of security, and kana pakudya chaipo akandidzidzisa kuti event like dare media harisi rekuuya kuzodya ibva kumba kwako wadya, takura mvura yako, because rungoya kuzokavha an event woenda kwaunoenda. Ukada kutsvaga zvechikafu uri kuindependent media unogona kufa. Saka zvinhu zvezvekuti ndakanga ndichitarisa maitiro aita zvinhu even kunewsroom kana tapinda kumedia center aita basa rake very fast. Anga asingatye kuti kune vakomana, cause vakomana webully, majournalists vechirume sometimes they are bully, but iye airamba akashinga asingadzokere kumashure. No one could bully her because she could challenge even a man. That was Lucy for you. Saka takadzidza kuti kana kumba chaiko une challenge yako aigona kutotora time newe achikukansela as a mother, as a sister, and as a professional muri pabasa ipapo. Saka zvinhu zvakawanda zvakatitaridza zvekuti if we look back tikatarisa crop yemajournalist vemazera ake vachiri munomu, vazhinji vacho they've gone quiet, but iye akaramba akatsungirira. Vamwe vakawanawo zvekuita kune mamwe maindustries, but iye kumedia haana kuita give up even zvinhu zvaoma, akaramba akatsungirira kusvika azotanga kurwara. Lucy akamira kunyora nekurwara, haana kumira nekutodha basi, haana kumira nekuti akaita chimwe chinhu chakashata, asi akangomira nekuti akarwara. Tiri kutoshaya pekutangira, tarasikirwa nomwe wedu. Pandiri kutotaura pano ndina Lucy mumota yeMoonlight, ndina driver, tiri vaviri tiri kuendesa Lucy kumba kwake kubudiriro. Saka zvinhu zvakaoma kuti taita service manheru, mamwe majournalists vanga vachipo zvavakadzidza, zvavakaona pana Lucy, zvavakaadmire vakateedzera. Saka tinoona kuti mumwe ataura kuti hapana munhu akashinga ari munhukadzi watichazoona muZimbabwe akaita saLucy, hapana anoenderana naye muushingi. Saka izvozvo tinozvikudza kuti asiya legacy ine udhamu mukurarama kwevamwe majournalist, vose vakadzi nevarume.
Aiwa, totenda chaizvo. Tiri kunzwapo kubva kune mumwe mutori wenhau uyezve akanga ari shamwari yemufi Lucy Yasini. Tiri kunzwa kubva kuna Ana Chibamu. Regai timboenda kwauri Sophia Mapuranga. Ungatiwe nyanya vatori venhau vechidzimai, nyanya vechidiki vangadzidzei kubva kune zvawakawanawo iwewe nezvawakadzidza kubva kune mufi Lucy Yasini?
Kubva kuna Lucy Yasini ndinofunga kuti vamwe vatori venhau vari kupinda muindustry kana kuti vechidiki vanofanira kudzidza kuve neushingi muprofession iyi. Ndinotarisira kuti chavangadzidza chinhu chakanyanyisa kukosha ndechekuti mentorship muindustry yedu yakakosha. Nokudaro ukange wawana tingati munhu anenge Lucy anoti rega ndikubate ruoko ndichikuratidza mafambiro, iva munhu anoteerera, iva munhu anokopera, iva munhu anonzwa zvinenge experience yevamwe vakuru wangu, tingati media yedu iri kuevolve. Asi kune vamwe vanga vagara vari muindustry vanenge vanga vakaita saLucy, vanhu ava vanenge vane second experience yavanenge vachida kuti dzidzisa upcoming female journalists. Saka nokudaro chamungati chamungadzidza chakanyanya kuteerera kuva neushingi uye kuva resilient pabasa iri, nokuti kuva journalist, a female journalist in Zimbabwe, it's not a walk in the park. Ndosaka muchizoona vamwe vachiti akangopinda anobuda, akapinda abuda, nokuti hazvina kuchipa. Asi ukange watarisa uchiona mufananidzo wemadzimai agara muindustry for madecades akawanda kudai sana sechimisi, ndopaunodzidzawo kuti aiwa, it's possible kuti ndinge ndiri mutori wenhau, ndinge ndichiva professional, ndinge ndichiita basa rangu nemazvo, zvinopedzisira zvaiyemurwa kunyange nenyika yese semaitikiro azvaita kuna sisimizi. Saka ndinoda kuti kune vamwe majournalist ari kuuya kana kuti vachangotanga basa iri, ushingi hwakakosha. Mentorship chaiyo yakakosha, nekutarisa zvaitwa nevamwe vari muindustry tichidzidza kubva kwavari, nokuti izvozvo ndo zvaita kuti nesuwo tese tirambe tiri muindustry kunyange zvinhu zvakaoma.
Thank you so much. I'll come back to you, Anna Chibamu. You mentioned that you're actually in the heat carrying the late Lucy Yasini's body back to her home.
Like this. Tikasvika ikoko vanhu vachayebva sapa and then tichazoita a-night race. Saka majournalist akawanda vari kuuya kuno sharara tichimbira mumwe wedu kusvika kwaedza, then mangwana we have breakfast, then vanhu vachaita service, pane service ichaitwa, handina timetable padhuze pandiri, asi ndiri kungotaura urongwa hwacho sekunyorwa kwahwanga hwakaitwa. Time yatiri kutarisira kuti Lucy achazobudiswa mumba, I think start, because burial yanzi iri kona. So pane bhazi reMoonlight richatakura vanhu kubva pamba richiendesa kuGlen Forest, vazodecide kuti acharadzwa. Saka imba yake yatotengwa, zvinhu zvese zviri zvakaringana maererano nekuti mumwe wedu azore yake.
Thank you there. And what is it like, you know, being in the heat, carrying your colleague, your friend, your mentor to her home the last time that she will be in her house today before she's buried? What's that feeling like?
Ndirikunetseka, ndikumbozama kushinga, but sometimes I just burst out, ndinongotanga kuchema kurizana mere. Saka ndambenge ndichitya because Lucy patainomuona kuchipatara every time for the past month, akanga achitonga ari kurecover, oita kunge akuita serious, akunge ari kurecover until last Sunday. Inini ndakaenda until last Saturday. Ndakanomuona, but ndakaona a different Lucy. Ndikaona kuti Lucy hapasisina, but handina kuzodzoka kuchipatara kusvikira azoshaika muSoimani, because ndakanga ndakutya. Saka ndakaita munamato nezvazvo kuti Mwari, sei muri kuda kuti nditye munhu wandaiona every day mazuva akawanda mukurarama kwake in the past decade. Saka chiri kutyisa paari chii chekuti pandanzi chipinda kumberi, ugare kumberi, ufambe navamutyairi nemota yakatakura mutumbi wake, ndambovhunduka, but ndazoona kuti munhu akaita seni chisingoripo mweya nekukwanisa kutaura nekuita zvinhu.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anna. That brings us to the end of our show. I'm Marvellous Mhlanga-Nyahuye saying have a very good night.